This interview has revolved around the amazing history of Zambia and how Dr. Mwaanga was able to play such an important role inside of it. Now let's look at today's world. There's so much that's going on and so many issues that every single person faces, especially in Africa. During this segment, we're going to revolve around Dr. Mwanga's involvement with the African Union, as well as the future of what private education has to offer for Zambians and how it's going to be able to inspire leaders to take up the yoke that our dear forefathers left for us.
Dr. Mwaanga, you served Zambia in major international spaces such as the UN. And today Africa has the African Union, which is meant to give the continent a stronger collective voice. In your view, how did your involvement or your work in UN help you in solving African continental issues better? And do you think your age and your credibility that you got or the experience over the years also helped?
Speaking on that as well, when it comes down to African issues, just a few days ago, there was an extremely xenophobic and quite literally offensive march towards immigrants inside of South Africa, with many people choosing to want to get them gone. Now, as someone who was there fighting for apartheid to end, someone who invited Henry Kissinger to come and make the speech saying that apartheid had a lifespan that was to end, how do you feel about such events when Africans are becoming less unified? And how do you think people should react to that?
When I was appointed as ambassador to the United Nations, one of the first things Dr. Kaunda told me was that we should focus on the liberation of the African continent. The liberation of the African continent. We're having challenges at that time because of the support Western countries were giving to colonial regimes and also to the apartheid regime in South Africa. So I used my position as ambassador of Zambia to the United Nations to get myself into organizations, committees of the UN, which were doing work on liberation movements, which were doing work on African issues. I became, for example, I became president of the United Nations Council for Namibia. Before that, I was chairman of the Committee on Colonialism and Apartheid. So I wanted to get the world to understand that this struggle of liberating the continent from the yoke of colonialism should not only be left to Africans alone. They had a duty to support it because it was a human rights issue, and that we are all children of God and we all deserve to be given the freedom that we need. It was not always easy, and I was elected on behalf of Zambia to the UN Security Council, and I became the youngest member of the Security Council and the youngest person to be elected president of the Council of the Security Council of the UN, which was 5 members, 15 members only, 3 from Africa and 12 from other parts of the world. And I had my own very aggressive discussions, even in that role, with British ambassadors and the American ambassadors, the French, German ambassadors. I remember they used to tell some of my friends, they said, "Oh, this Zambian ambassador is very stubborn. He's always bringing in African issues to the Security Council for discussion." They said, yes, that is part of his mandate. Why shouldn't he bring them to the Security Council? So for us, it was a matter of liberation. We had to get the world to understand that we needed their support to liberate the African continent from the yoke of colonialism and apartheid. Apartheid was evil, and we supported liberation movements from there for African National Congress and the Pan-African Congress. And the ANC headquarters, regional headquarters, was here in Lusaka. And President Oliver Tambo was based here. And each time there was a security alert in the country, Oliver Tambo used my house as his safe house. He came to my house and I had to look after him. Sometimes I had to look after his wife as well when she came, since she was based in the UK. When she came here and there was an alert, the two of them came and stayed with me 1 week, 2 weeks sometimes. And we'd never allowed visitors to come during that period, you know. Our support went much further than that, you know. There was a very nasty incident which happened in a place called Chikumbi. As you are going to Kabwe on the Great North Road, on the right-hand side, there used to be what we called a refugee camp. They called it a terrorist camp themselves. But for us, we had no terrorist camps here. We had only refugee camps. That was our official position. The South African Air Force came and bombed the camp, and they bombed villages surrounding the camp. A number of our citizens died. You know, this is only one incident out of the many which happened in different parts of the country. You know. We became so overwhelmed that the ambulances could not manage to transport people who were injured or killed who needed to be taken to UTH. We had to appeal to citizens on radio to make their vehicles available to assist in transporting people who needed medical help. And Zambians volunteered by their hundreds. In the end, we had excess capacity. They transported those people to UTH. The doctors at UTH ran out of human resources, nurses and doctors. We had to bring in doctors from Mazabuka, Monze, Mazabuka, Kafue, Kabwe, to come and help the doctors at UTH and nurses at UTH because they couldn't cope with it. At one time, they ran out of blood, you know, in the blood bank at UTH. Had to go on radio to appeal to Zambians to volunteer and go and donate blood at UTH to enable the doctors to perform their operation duties. And over 2,000 Zambians lined up there to volunteer to donate blood to enable the doctors to carry out these operations. How much support can people give to a country? We supported them here. We rented houses, paid rentals for them. We did everything for them. Schools for their children. Some of them were even going to our university. We gave them scholarships to go to our colleges, agricultural colleges, universities, free at our government expense. I think that in the last few days, when I've been seeing photos on TV of xenophobic attacks against foreigners and foreigners lining up to be repatriated, Africans, to their respective countries, including Zambians, I felt pain in my heart because the Zambian people did a lot, sacrificed a lot for the people of South Africa and for the people in the neighboring countries. During the freedom struggle, we sacrificed everything. Why should our people be treated as if they're being chased from South Africa like dogs? That is totally inhuman and unacceptable.
Wow, that is truly a shared sentiment about that horrible situation. I think at this point in time, it's now to look towards the future and what exactly we can do to avoid this stuff from happening, to inspire leaders through education. And I think it can be best said through a question from an Italian school member.
Thank you. Dr. Mwaanga, your life has been connected to Zambia's diplomacy, nation building, and African liberation. It has also been connected to the founding of Leopards Hill School. Do you think that the school was part of a wider vision to shape the country's future leaders? And how do you think that the principles upon which the school has been built can be expanded and can be basically used to develop all sorts of schools across Zambia, no matter what type of syllabus?
Thank you. I come from an education family. My father was the headmaster of the only African upper primary school in Livingstone, which is called Shungu at that time, 1950. My mom was also a teacher at what is now St Mary's Secondary School. It used to be called Maramba School in those days. So education has been a priority in my family. And we've had a lot of teachers being brought up by my dad, his relatives, my mother's relatives being sponsored by my dad to become teachers, and they're teaching in different schools. So education has had a very special place in my heart. Without education, you cannot run a modern state like Zambia. You'll be interested to know, for example, that at the time when Zambia became independent in October 1964, we had 108 university graduates, 108 only. And people who had done Cambridge school certificates, just a little over 1,200. That is all. So education was a priority even for us during the struggle for independence, because even as a liberation movement, as a liberation movement, we sent a lot of students to go and study in India, in Yugoslavia, in Poland, in Germany, East Germany and West Germany, in the Soviet Union, as it was then called, in USA, to study, to go and prepare them to come and take up responsibilities here in Zambia. So it has always been my view that education should not be left as the responsibility of governments alone. In my case, having had that kind of parenthood, parents who were committed to education, I wanted to make a contribution to education so that I can pay Zambia for part of what Zambia had done for me as an individual. It was a payback time. I felt a sense of duty to repay something to Zambia. So when we were discussing the issue of education one day with my late brother, Edward Jack Shamwana, State Council, he said, well, I've developed the same idea. We should work together. I've even identified the piece of land, which I think I should take you to go and see, because Edward Shamwana, apart from being a friend, he was also my lawyer. He was my lawyer and my legal advisor. So he took me to what is now St Ignatius College in 1976 to show me the land which he said that he was planning to buy. We looked around in the land. That whole area was bush. There were no buildings there. And I said, well, the only questions which we are going to face is that people want to know why we're putting this school in the bush. But he said, no, he had looked at the bigger plan which the city council had, the development plan of the Lusaka City Council, and that area would be built up, there would be embassies, and so we went to see that area, the map, development map of the Lusaka City Council, and I could see that area was going to be built up. So I said, well, then I don't really have any further questions. So he went ahead and purchased that land initially, 100 acres, Edward Shamwana, to start that school. And then we started looking for people to come, and we chose the name. Then we had to get a few colleagues to come and serve on the board, not board of directors, we called it the board of trustees, because it was going to be a non-profit making institution. Even those who agreed to serve on the board would receive no allowances, no sitting allowances. We wanted people who were committed to giving something back to Zambia. And we continued that journey. We invited a man called Mr. Godwin Mutale at that time. He was managing director of Zambia National Housing Authority, and he agreed to serve, and we told him the concept, and then we appointed, we approached Mr. Rupia Banda, who later became president of Zambia, and he too agreed to serve on the board. And as initially there were 4 of us, and then we approached another person who joined us a little later, and we started making plans, for the school, drawing up plans, getting architects involved, and raising money. And we were raising money from firms, from individuals. There are small individuals who are able to come and say, well, I've heard the school, the concept is very good. I don't have much money, I can only give you 2 kwacha. We said, even 2 kwacha is okay. It reminded me of the story of Jesus and the people who are donating money. The one who donated the least, who went secretly because he didn't want others to know that he was donating so little. And Jesus said that the person who has donated the most is this one, who had donated the least, because that least is all the money that he had. So he had donated everything. So we said, no, even 2 kwacha is fine. They were donated money. We opened a special account and raising money, and then started looking for a principal. We found a principal. We had to get him involved in making sure that they supervised the construction. We divided it into phases. Phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, and we had the plot surveyed properly and marks put on to show that that 100 acres belonged to the school. And we started looking for constructors. They started the construction, buying material. I asked 2 of my very famous friends in America to make contributions. I think you probably know the names, The first one was Sidney Poitier, a famous actor. He was the first black actor to win an Oscar in Hollywood. The other one was Harry Belafonte. He was a musician and also an actor. And they donated $100,000 each to the school. And other people donated. I also, as a person, I donated a lot of money, and from the company that I had owned at the time and the farms that I had owned at the time. We donated, we continued the donations. We just continued donating. We donate 50,000, 20,000, 100,000, 500,000. Whenever money became available, we continued the donations. And all members of the board were donating individually, in addition to going to ask companies and to donate, and law firms to donate money towards the construction of the school, to help build the school. We even had donations from the politicians, asking them to donate money, that we want to complement what government is doing. Government should not be left alone to deal with the field of education. And we continued the buildings, and the school started, the headmaster, the principal started the recruitment process of teachers. We had to offer teachers from different schools, of course, better conditions of service than what they were getting, to come to our school. And we asked him to continue interviewing them, and we would interview some of them occasionally as a board. But we said we would leave that to the principal and his staff to continue doing that. So it was a lifetime commitment for us to build, to get the school built, the first phase, and to get the first intake. And we got to a stage at one point where, being a fee-paying school, a lot of parents got very interested in our school because we gave it a lot of publicity. You know? We gave it a lot of publicity, and having been involved myself as a minister in government, I had to split my time between performing my ministerial duties and hosting board meetings of the school to make sure that we had raised enough money, that the contractor was doing the right thing, going to inspect the schools under construction several times just to make sure that everything was going in accordance with the plans that we had drawn. And as soon as the first class was completed, we said we wanted the class to start. 2 classes, they started, and the admin block, where the admin block and the others were going to be, we started the school, and we had so many applications that we didn't even have enough space. We said we just have to wait. You have to wait until we have completed the other phases of the school. There was a time when at the school we had 23 nationalities from different countries at the school. I don't know what the position is now, but at that time, the embassies and high commissions, the UN agencies, the people in the agencies, they were sending their children, they started sending their children there, especially when our results started coming out, you know, because the results happened to have been the best, among the best in the country. We were always in the first 10 in the country at that time. And we were proud of what our teachers were doing, what our headmaster was doing. We changed, of course, headmaster. We have one principal after another principal after another principal after another principal. And we asked for donations from companies like IBM. They donated some computers and books. We had asked some of the companies to donate books, and they donated books. I personally donated some of the books that I had written to the library. And the school attracted a lot of interest. You know, there were a lot of people wanting to send their children. And as the school continued developing, we then decided that the parents wanted to have a meeting with the board. So we had a meeting at the school with the board of trustees. And they said that they were tired of dropping off children at school every day and picking them up, and could we consider, you know, putting boarding facilities at the school? We said yes, we agree with that. So to raise part of the funds, we had to sell 30 acres out of the 100 acres. We raised money, which we then started building hostels for the girls and for the boys, and the dining facilities and the kitchen, to enable parents to have their children stay in school instead of them picking up children from school. There was a time when we had more than 1,000 students because we were double classes. There was the morning ones, and then there were also afternoon classes. And the pressure was too much. There were too many people wanted to put their children in the school. And we continued with that because as we were preparing to get the construction work started, unfortunately, my brother and colleague, the late Edward Shamwana, was arrested by the government, and he was accused of plotting to overthrow the government of the day, together with others. And later on, they went to court. They were charged with treason. And as you know, treason is a non-bailable offense. So he couldn't get out. Each time I wanted to discuss something or to brief him about the school, I had to go to the prison. And the officer in charge was good enough. He would let us make use of his office to meet and to tell him that we have made progress. I'd even show him photos of what had happened. And I was the chairman of the board and the members of the board, and we were meeting, and I would go and brief him. And we just said, well, you better just carry on as a co-founder and get the school, see it to the end. And I carried on seeing the school to the end up to the time when I was beginning to get a bit fatigued and a bit tired, and because of these double duties, being a minister. Even when I was foreign minister, I would go abroad. As soon as I came back, so there's a board meeting. We would arrange board meetings in advance. We have to go to a board meeting. Sometimes board meetings were held here where we are sitting. The table we found here, we held our board meetings here. And before the school, sometimes we held them at my office, which was in Kafue House. When we started, we would have the meetings in Kafue House in my boardroom. If not, we would have them in my house. So we held the meetings regularly just to make sure that everything was on course and things were being done in accordance with the decisions that we had made. And then I say to my board members, how about us taking a break? We've been at it for a long time now. We have to find someone to get this school. I said to them, let me talk to my friend first, Father Chilinda, and he used to be a regular visitor at my house, Father Chilinda the late. I said to him, this school we have, and I took him to the school to show him. He said, this is a good school. We've heard a lot of good things about it. I said, we want to give it away because we've had our time. As board chairman myself, I was board chairman for over 40 years, nearly 40 years. I said, it's just too much. It reminded me of what I found at an old people's home in Rome when I was attached there as second secretary trainee in the British Foreign Service. I was sent to go and check on British old people who were living in this old home. So I went with the driver from the embassy, and we got there and we parked the car. And as I was about to enter, I saw a big post written outside. We were like you. You will be like us. We are waiting. All I can say is that I was like you. You will be like me. I'm waiting. So he said, I think we would be interested. Let me go and talk to my colleagues in the church. We would be interested in the school, provided we can agree on a price. I said, no, let's put price aside for now. Just interest. See if you are interested in the school. And he talked to them and came back, and with a few other senior people, and they said to me, no, we are interested in the school. I said, okay. Then I said to them, since you are interested and you're serious, let's get lawyers to draw an agreement, and we're giving the school to you free of charge. What? I said, yes, free of charge. Because we built this school for the community as part of our thank you to thank Zambia. So we can't charge you money. We didn't make it. We were not even earning fees as directors. We never earned. You can look at the accounts, the audited books, never. Not one director has been paid director's fees. We do it voluntarily. It is a way of saying thank you to Zambia. And that is how we finally, here, where we are sitting here, That is where the agreement was signed.
That's really remarkable.
And to take the school, and we said, fine. I said, the school is yours. We will not interfere. And I'm sure the principal agreed that since you took over the school, at least since you became principal, I've never been to the school. I've never asked any questions. We have left it to them to run the school because we knew that Jesuits have a very high reputation in terms of education, running education institutions. We are aware of their history, and we gave it to them gladly. We knew that the school would be left in good hands, and I think the school was left in very good hands.
Yes, it truly was, because looking at today's society, St Ignatius College is an amazing school in every single aspect that they do take up. And honestly, even if I'm not a member, I do have to extend my thanks for developing the Leopards Hill High School, because truly, it has nourished amazing students as you have here. Now, we're coming to the end of our interview. And once more, Dr. Mwaanga, I just want to thank you on a very personal level, because for me, this interview has opened me to see a hero of Zambia living in the flesh and walking among us. Your feats are absolutely unlistable. You've had so much that you've done for our country as well as the whole world and Africa. You've been an ambassador to the United Nations, to the Soviet Union. You've been an editor of the one and only Times of Zambia. You've been the Minister of Home Affairs, you've been the Minister of Information. I could go on and we'd be here all day, which is exactly why I want to thank you for this very day you've given me and showing me just a truly extraordinary life that you've had in these 82 years, just like you titled your book in 1982.